Hello everyone, today I'm going to explain 5 technical questions from the CCNA exam. Let's start with the first question. The first question is about first hop redundancy protocols. We know that first hop redundancy protocols such as HSRP and VRRP, what are their functions? They work by allowing multiple routers to effectively act as the primary default gateway for a network, which significantly reduces the impact of potential router failures. In other words, it effectively minimizes service interruptions and disruptions caused by unexpected router outages. For example, under normal circumstances, hosts are connected to a switch. Many hosts connected to a switch, and then the switch is connected to a router. If that router fails, we wouldn't be able to access the gateway, right? So we connect one or more additional routers to increase redundancy, correct? Simply put, this is gateway redundancy. It achieves gateway redundancy, so the correct answer is D. Let's look at the correct answer. It's D. All right, on to the second question. The second question is about configuration. Specifically about NAT configuration. The configuration of NAT technology is, as the question asks, about converting a subnet, the source, the original subnet, which is 10.10.0.024 into, that is converting. This is a private network address inside and converting it to outside to one of these 3 addresses. If you want to learn Cisco technologies or get access to Cisco question banks, feel free to send me a private message or leave a comment below the video to discuss technical topics. Here, 3 public IP addresses are provided, which means we need to create an address pool, right? First, this enabled. All the stuff before this actually, there's no need to write it here. Enabled is just to enter this mode, enter user view, then configure terminal, then IP. From here, this is the configuration, creating an address pool, giving the address pool a name, then assigning it addresses from 3.1 to 3.3. After that, you write an access list, which is an access control list, and specify who is allowed. Allowing the internal network to access external resources means that we must meticulously configure the routing table to ensure a precise match for the internal network's specific route. This involves, for instance, matching the 24 route, which represents a particular subnet within our internal infrastructure, to align perfectly with this designated route. Subsequently, when we proceed to configure network address translation, commonly known as NAT, the NAT inside source configuration will explicitly utilize list 1. This particular list 1 signifies that the access control list, or ACL, is specifically designed to match traffic originating from the 10.0.024 network. This implies that any and all traffic whose source address falls within the range of this specified subnet will be identified and matched by the ACL. Once such traffic is successfully matched, its original private internal address will then undergo a crucial transformation, being translated into a publicly routable address. This public address will be drawn from a predefined address pool that we have meticulously created for this very purpose. It is important to understand that any available address from this designated pool can be dynamically allocated and utilized for this translation process, ensuring seamless connectivity to external networks. Isn't that right? Finally, we need to meticulously define our public network interface. For example, on this particular device, the public network interface situated on the right side is specifically designated as the G1-to-1 interface. Subsequently, for the internal interface, it explicitly signifies that the internal interface G1-to-1 is precisely defined as the NAT inside, which inherently functions as the internal interface. Then you proceed to define the external interface G1-to as the outside, thereby establishing its role as the external connection point. This configuration is correct, so the correct answer is D. The others, every single one of them, are all entirely incorrect, so I absolutely will not be going into any further detail about them at this particular moment. All right, next question. The third question is about HSRP, which is Hot Standby Router Protocol, a first hop redundancy protocol. In this first hop redundancy protocol, HSRP has several roles. It asks, when the primary role, that is the main router, fails, which router will take over the forwarding role of the primary router? Now, first of all, A and B are not roles, they are states. Listen, and this folding are both states. So what are the roles? It's standby. Standby is a role in HSRP. And backup is a role in VRRP. So the correct answer is C. All right, question number 4. Question number 4 specifically asks, which particular protocol allows network engineers to effectively utilize the copy function to globally back up the entire configurations of 20 distinct network routers? Now, the key point here is the deployment of 20 routers. The keyword is 20 routers. In other words, TCP itself can't directly provide TCP. Let's look at the answers first. TCP, this protocol can't provide application functions, so it doesn't fit, which means it's incorrect. And SMTP, this one is completely irrelevant. What about FTP? This is the file transfer protocol. The file transfer protocol can barely be used to deploy 20 routers, but it requires configuring each one individually, so the efficiency is quite low, right? It's not specifically designed for network management tasks. Now, SNMP, on the other hand, is specifically designed for comprehensive network management, right? And it inherently allows for efficient batch operations. So the unequivocally correct answer is indeed D. Let's look at the correct answer. It's D. All right, for this very last question, it asks us the public IP address of an NNAT device. What specific type of IP address is a public IP address in this particular context? In other words, when we look at the net session table, there are several columns, several options, and on one of these columns, you'll see some addresses listed. The question is, which label describes the public IP address? That would be Sinside Global. Let's check the correct answer. It's C. All right, submit. If you want to learn Cisco technologies or get access to Cisco question banks, feel free to message me privately, or you can leave a comment below the video for technical discussions.